Welcome, everyone. Hello. Today we are here with Simi Hunjan. Welcome, Simi.
Hi, Shilpi. Thank
Ah,
you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. So, today we'll be talking about Simi's journey into technology. For those of you who may not know who I am or are attending a first Data Ethics for All event, my name is Shilpi Agarwal. I'm the founder and CEO of Data Ethics for All Foundation. And our mission is to raise ethics first data and AI champions. We do this through the STEAM in AI college prep program that provides experiential learning and career mentoring to high school students. And high school journey to college and beyond is such an important step in someone's life that this program has been started just to answer some of the challenges and questions that high schoolers have today. And so let's jump right in, Simi. I'm super excited to host you and talk about your journey into technology. So,
Awesome.
what were some of your career goals at the time you were graduating high school?
Yeah, so we're definitely going back down memory lane today. So back in high school, honestly, there were probably only three areas that I was really looking at, which was really influenced by your mentors, like your parents or your teachers, or sometimes it's your close friends. But really, there were sort of like three options that were always in front of my face at that time without having experience in other areas. But it was really between being a lawyer, an engineer, or a doctor, and that's kind of what was really what that was talked about back then. And I kind of leaned towards going into a career in healthcare. I ruled the other two out. For law school, I didn't see myself reading a lot of books and learning more about history and setting the precedents and things like that. For engineering, actually, even though I'm in that now, back then, my dad was an electrical engineer, and I didn't really see myself in him.
Yeah.
It wasn't really something that I saw myself doing. And also, at the time, when you're being explained these different paths in engineering, the words and everything and terminology is so confusing. You're just like, this is not for me. And so I leaned more into the healthcare side because I could relate to it. And I chose to go down through the dental path. And I had great experiences, fortunately, with dentists growing up, and I could understand what that profession meant. I could relate to it, I could understand it. And so that's kind of the direction that I started out of high school with the options that I was aware of at the time.
Yeah. And this, out of the three choices that you narrowed down into one, was it in what grade would you say you had a clear picture of, what you wanted to do next?
You mean from the time from high school or onwards from there?
In high school, like between ninth grade and 12th grade, like
Oh,
from being a freshman to a senior, when did you decide on this being a dentist path?
honestly, it was during the time where we had to get ready to prepare for applying to colleges. I think
Oh,
that's
okay.
maybe your junior year
Mhm.
or senior year, right? I can't
Yeah,
remember now.
senior.
But when that pressure kind of comes on of, oh, hey, you're about to apply for college, you need to figure out a degree and what concentration you'll have and all those kinds of details. I think I had those thoughts in my mind maybe at the onset of high school, but I feel like I had to like narrow it down because I knew one day I had to apply and put in, what I wanted to do. And so at the time, I had selected to do a biology degree because
Okay.
that aligned with the path of going into dental school and the requirements for that. So
Okay.
that's what I had set at the onset.
So the dental path also goes through the pre-med track. How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a little bit pre-med track in the sense that, I mean, there's overlap in like the biology courses and requirements that you have to take,
Okay.
but we don't have we don't go to med school and then also do the following 4 years practicing in terms of schooling. So once we kind of finish the degree, finish the prereqs, we then take a DAT, which is like an MCAT, and then you can start, if you get accepted, you can start school. And it's like a 3-year program or 4-year program. And then once you're done, you can practice as a dentist.
I see. And so this 3 or 4 year program is after you finish your undergrad, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So after you complete your undergrad and all of the requirements as they state, and
Okay.
also taking the dental, is it the dental admissions test? I think there's a DAT, is what that
Okay.
stands for.
I see.
Then you're qualified to go into dental school. Then once you graduate, you can practice.
Okay. Okay. So you've decided in your senior year that you're going to go the dental school path and you're applying to these dental schools and biology program for the undergrad degree, right? So then what happens?
Yeah, and along with that, satisfying the other requirements, doing volunteer work. I ended up working in a dental office as well to get some
Oh,
experience and kind of all the things that you would see someone going down this path doing. I kind of did it all.
right.
And because I was trying to meet those requirements, after I got done with my undergrad degree in biology,
Hmm.
my biology GPA maybe wasn't as competitive or as high as I wanted it. So I actually moved to San Francisco to take some additional bio courses through Berkeley Extension.
Okay.
So that kind of landed me in San Francisco, and I probably spent a couple of semesters there through Berkeley Extension taking some courses in bio and living in SF. Um,
Oh,
and so at the time, I had picked up a job out there while I was doing the extension courses because the extension courses were offered after work or on the weekend. So I could
yeah.
manage kind of working while I was out there while I was doing some extra courses. And I was working in the healthcare field. I worked at Children's Hospital Oakland. I worked at UCSF Medical Center. And as I was working through those jobs while I had my time in San Francisco, there was a healthcare startup that was starting out of UCSF. And I knew a couple of the people that were starting it. And at the time, they had asked, hey, do you want to join this startup? We're looking to solve problems in healthcare that relate to patients from the time that they go from surgery all the way till the time they're discharged and they go home. This
Hmm.
program is going to improve their experience as they're going through the healthcare system from the start of their first appointment all the way through going back home after surgery. And
Hmm.
then on the other end, they were hoping to also reduce the hospital costs because of this sort of guided care. They had the resources that they need, and maybe they don't end up in the ER or something like that for something that didn't
Right.
require that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I started working there, and that's kind of where everything changed.
Yeah. And this was alongside your undergrad degree, or you had finished your undergrad
I finished my undergrad degree
at
at this
this
point.
point?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I finished. I'm done. I'm doing some extra courses through Berkeley Extension. Still in my mind, getting everything together to apply, and still thinking about going to dental school at this point.
Okay. And so you're brushing up, improving your biology skills or what have you to
Yeah.
still go do on that path of the dental school path. Okay.
Still going down that path, and UOP has a dental school in San Francisco, so I was making routine office visits and things like that to
Yeah.
kind of stay up to date with like what I need to do or anything like that. So it's still very much in the mindset of, hey, I'm going to be a dentist someday in the future. Uh,
Amazing. And this startup, this experience at a tech startup changed your life. So tell us a little bit about that. What changed for you?
Yeah, so I would say that while I was working there, I got exposed to the tech world. Not only working there, but also like that move to San Francisco that changed my environment. San
Where
Francisco.
were you before then?
I was in Folsom. In Folsom.
Folsom. Okay.
So I was at Folsom at my parents. That's where I went to high school. That's where I grew up. And so my first big move out of my parents' house was out to San Francisco after I graduated and continued to take some more courses at Berkeley Extension.
Nice. And
Yeah.
so, what like inspired you in the tech world that made you think about switching careers? And we are going to come to that in a bit. But yeah, what inspired or what changed?
Yeah, so when I started working there, I started exposed to kind of the tech world, like software, how things work, how CRMs work, and these different things that I didn't have exposure to before. And the manager that I was working for at the time, he would actually take the time to sit me down and kind of, I guess I would ask a lot of questions, so maybe he wasn't doing it voluntarily, but he would kind of sit down with me and kind of go through everything that he was doing. And kind of like building workflows, and you use code to build workflows for your business operations and things like that. And I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. It makes your business operations like more efficient. And then also while we were launching this program that I talked about, we made a lot of assumptions along the way with like maybe what kinds of services patients want. But then as we started actually working with patients and started documenting the data for what services they opted for, which ones they didn't, we kind of realized that some of the assumptions that we made were wrong because
Yeah,
the data was showing otherwise. And then I was like, wow, data is really powerful. How do you, data can kind of invalidate or validate some of the assumptions that you have. And it's really based on the population of people that are using your product. You know, it's not just what's in your mind, it's really the users of
true.
your products to come to that. And so then I started thinking, wow, this is really cool and it was really intriguing. And I just want to keep learning more and more. You know, as I'm still kind of working towards being a dentist, I kind of hit a point where I was like, wow, I just learned about this whole new kind of industry. I mean, it was there, but I didn't have that much kind
Yeah,
of exposure to it.
experience. Yeah,
And
sure.
so, and then there came a point of like, hey, I have spent a lot of time towards meeting these other requirements to kind of go down this other path. But now I've been exposed to all these things and I'm actually really invested in this too. What do I do?
Yeah. So, is it safe to say that you fell in love with data?
I did. I did. I did. And the power of it, it just was really inspiring kind of moment when you
Yeah,
just saw how much of an impact it made in something that you were trying to do.
absolutely. And even challenge your assumptions,
Yes.
and make data-driven decisions going forward. So sounds like, yeah, you really fell in love with data, and you wanted to do something with that. Like you felt like that spoke to you more than being a dentist, perhaps.
Yeah, so honestly, it kind of came down to thinking about like maybe more deep, and these are things maybe I didn't think about as deeply getting out of high school, but more so like 4 or 5 years later as I graduated and now I'm on my own and having different, more adult-like experiences. I kind of started thinking more about like maybe interests, yes, and then also like lifestyle choices, maybe. If you're a dentist, you have to be in the office. You don't have an option to work from home. That is pretty much what you'll be doing for the rest of your career is going into an office and working with patients, which is fine and which is great.
Yeah,
I think it's a great lifestyle.
yeah,
On the other hand, if you're working in tech, you have a little bit of different options. Like, yes, you can go into the office, but in tech, you can also work from the comfort of your home
right.
and just kind of looking at the different sort of lifestyle choices between the two career paths. And I don't know, I think being in San Francisco and having that experience, I kind of drew more to the tech side after that experience versus continuing on the path like going through dental school.
Yeah,
And, you know, switching career paths is a challenge in itself because you've already committed so many years
yeah,
of time and resources kind of pursuing that dream only to stop and say, maybe
yeah.
this isn't it for me. There's this other thing that keeps kind of popping into my mind.
Yeah, that's my segue into this. So it feels like you had a tech calling, and now you've decided you're on this crossroads. You're thinking about whether I should continue on this dental school path, or should I shift gears and choose a career in tech and pursue something perhaps in data science or artificial intelligence. And yes, there's all this mental thoughts that you go through, disappointment and the investment of time, resources, all these years of your life, and all your mentors, parental figures in life, whether to disappoint, how do you break the news to them, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, no, I can totally imagine. So, what was their reaction for the most? How did you break the ice? How did you tell them that this is what you want to do? Were you scared to share that? How did you break it? What was their reaction?
Yeah, no, it was very nerve wracking to have that conversation because all your peers, your parents, your friends, honestly, everybody around you knows that you've been on this path and you've been dedicated to this path.
True.
And having that conversation, whether it's your parents, your friends, I mean, whoever around you that you
True.
consider close and has influenced your life
Yeah.
and are watching you kind of grow that way to come back and say, hey, actually, I think I'm going to try something else. And it's
Yeah.
not always something else that they're familiar with, it's something else that they can't understand or really relate to or know, which becomes even more challenging because I think if your parents don't know, or if your mentors or other friends or your teachers don't really understand like what this career path is and what it means, they're almost wanting to kind of push you to stay in the path that you're in versus encourage you to jump ship
Discourage. Yeah.
and kind of take lead in something new.
True. True. So, is
And
that what happened with you as well?
yeah, I think that I think initially kind of like embarking on this like new journey in tech, there was mixed feelings because
Yeah.
people didn't really understand. I actually decided to do my master's in data science as like a segue into tech, and
Yeah.
using the word data science 4 or 5 years ago, it was still relatively new, and people didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, she's changing it to something, but we don't really know like
We don't know that yet.
means, you don't know what that entails, and then your parents, they just want you to be successful, and you're
True.
telling them about something that they don't understand, and they want you to just kind of stay in line with what you're doing because you've spent so much time already, and they set those expectations with their friends, and they're having to think about, well, now I need to go tell my friends you're doing something else.
Oh my God, what will society say?
Exactly, because they've already set these expectations. And, to be honest, I think I just had to persevere and I just had to
Wow.
stay on the track for what I believed was going to provide the future that I was looking for.
Kudos to
And
you for,
yeah, it was hard because you kind of feel like you don't always have that support when when you're making that shift.
very hard, very hard. It is the most difficult decision that you would probably have had to make in your life. But you did it. And so, what was the journey into the master? So, then did you apply to many data science programs nationwide? How did that work?
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out because I was like, okay, I've done everything related to healthcare, everything related to bio, even my jobs are all around the healthcare industry, not from a tech perspective, but like from a patient care perspective and things like that. So I was like, I can't just jump into like a tech career with what I have
Yeah.
because I don't have the experience in the way that the resume would describe, make someone that's
Maybe it's
desirable.
not linear. It's not a linear path to tech that your resume would tell.
Exactly. And so, because of my experience at that startup, and I realized how much
Yeah.
power data have, that's what drove me to like, okay, wait, what in tech is related to data that I can do because I already know this is something that I want to kind of stay within. And so that's how I found the data science programs. And I did apply to a couple of data science programs, but because I was in SF, I did my data science program through UOP. And again, I kind of built my relationships there, and then I ended up doing their program. So
Nice.
I stayed in SF, and I moved to SF to finish my prerequisites for dental school, but then I stayed in SF and completed my master's in tech in data science. And so it kind of all changed when I went over there.
Amazing. Okay. You have graduated from your master's program in data science. Did you get recruited right away into technology? Was it through campus interviews? How was your first? What obstacles did you face as you were breaking into technology?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the program that I was in for 2 years, the last semester we had a capstone. So I started looking for opportunities maybe the 1 year, 6 months before I was going to graduate. And
Okay.
there was so what I did, UOP had like career fairs, and I would go to those fairs to look at opportunities. And then I would also look at sort of like job postings that are looking for maybe, I mean, I was even happy to do like an internship at that point because I just wanted to get some experience and kind of get in the door. So I was like, it doesn't matter to me what it is. I'm just really hungry to learn about this world and get the experience under my belt and see how things go. And so I also decided, so at that time, this was kind of another little bit of a shift in, I mean, still in tech, but maybe
Yeah.
not specifically data science. But that last year, I spent a lot of time also going to tech meetups. So you can
Oh,
find a lot of them in San Francisco. The last year of my master's, I ended up moving back to Folsom. And so then I was looking for tech meetups in Sacramento. I think a great way if you're looking for job opportunities is to go and talk to people.
yeah.
Go find, the companies. If there's a specific company that you want to work for, they usually have meetups and organizations that you can join. But really, just networking, talking to people can really help you when you're kind of in that transition from like graduating from college and then pursuing your job after that. And so I actually landed. I wanted to learn about Bitcoin and blockchain because that last year of my program, I kept hearing about it. It really wasn't going away. So then I just decided to go to a meetup in Sacramento because I was back home at the time and go learn about that. And then I was just like talking to people, going to meetups, and really just trying to actually focus on the technology. I didn't care about the coins. I didn't care. I did try to invest in some coins back then to learn what that process was because people were talking about it. But my
Yeah.
primary focus was really to like, well, what is this technology? Why is this different than existing technologies? And how does this apply to like maybe the future of where I'm going? And I
Yeah.
ended up meeting the person that hired me into the company that I worked for like in 2018. And so
You met that person at that the blockchain meetup.
I did, yeah, I did. And even
Amazing.
then, I didn't have. I was kind of bugging him about, hey, I just want to learn this technology. I had no actually foresight to think that like, oh, I'm trying to work at this company or anything like that.
Wow.
But it was more of like, I just want to learn about the technology. Just give me some time or some experience doing something with this technology so I can build a deeper understanding of what it means. And then later on, when he was hiring for his team, he was like, hey, we have a position open, which is a couple months before I ended my program. So I met him in January. Then by March, he was hiring for his team and was like, hey, do you want to join? So that's kind of how that opportunity came about.
Wow. Such an amazing story, Simi. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share this today with everybody.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Simi and I met at another blockchain event last year, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and since then we have been in touch. I've been so inspired and in awe with Simi and the way she thinks, and we've been good friends and we've been in touch. Yeah, so I'm really amazed with what you've done and how you've broken into and created your own path for technology and a career in tech. So final question for you. I know we could keep on talking. I just love talking to you. I'm sure our audience has a lot of questions as well, like the nitty gritty of what all APs did you take, or what all, there's just so much we can get into. Um, but what would you recommend for someone who wants to pivot into technology?
Yes, I would say find something that inspires you in tech and use that as your theme to push your learning forward. So let's say if you're interested in data science or if you're interested in software engineering or something, whatever it is for you, you want to build an application, a web application, you want to use data to find meaningful insights, like whatever it is that's inspiring you, kind of hold on to that thought in tech and then sort of cultivate your experiences around that, meaning like you can go to all these educational websites like Udemy, Code Academy, and all these things where there's tons of free content and
Yeah.
also paid content as well to learn these different technologies and build your portfolio around that. So let's say you want to be a web developer. You can go learn web development, create a portfolio on GitHub, put your projects on there, and that can demonstrate your experience and knowledge and expertise in a certain field in tech.
That's a really great advice, Simi, because I've seen so many resumes of, really great candidates, but all they have is like certification, theoretical knowledge on their resume. Like they've passed certifications and they've done courses and they have the degree, but when it comes to a portfolio or like things that they've worked on, and you learn so much through actual doing the work, right? With actual experience, that's completely missing in some of those. So I think that's really great advice. Build your portfolio, even do some small projects for yourself to like get your hands dirty into how things work, whether it's for data or artificial intelligence or any other building and web app. And of course our steam in AI program. And yeah, so let me ask you, this is great for somebody who's graduated and now looking into a career in tech, but even for high school students, they could start with a small tech project on their own, or join a program like steam in AI. So, given like your story on how you knew only three career paths when you were in high school, what advice would you give to a high schooler who is thinking of careers in tech or careers in general and applying to colleges? What can they do to explore different career paths that exist today?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would look to the community to see if there's events and things that you can get involved in to get more exposure. I think the more exposure that you have to these different careers early on, these different career
Yes.
paths, will give you a better opportunity to maybe figure out like what you like and what you don't like, and help you narrow it down like even further. When you have like limited options like presented to you, then you kind of pick one of those, but you're not exposed to everything. So I would look to community, and honestly, there might be company events and other things like that in your neighborhood that are they're hosting for students, high school students, and just try to get engaged and learn about it. Learn about anything that like kind of you're wondering about and inspires you. Whether it's could be in tech, it could be in art, it could be in any of those areas, and just try to see if you can gain some more experience around that.
Yeah, and I would say also great advice, Simi. And I would add to that, like talk to professionals, different professionals in the field. Even if they are remotely, even if you're remotely interested in that career path, just talk to them. Ask them questions, what that career looks like, what do they do on an everyday basis, what inspires them, why did they choose this career, what do they like about it today, what advice would they give to someone, what does a career in that field look in 5 years or 10 years. Those are the questions. Like, have at least a bank of questions to go talk to different people, shadow them, talk to them. Simi said, join communities and events. Data Ethics for All has a great community of data and AI leaders across the globe. Join communities like that, and I'm sure there are many other such tech communities, non-tech communities, where you can actually get face to face and talk to people, network with people, and learn more about the different linear as well as non-linear paths, career paths in tech that are available today, as well as in other fields. There's just so much has changed over the years, and now there are just so many options available for you. So take advantage of them. It's okay to change career paths, as Simi did. It's also better if you can figure out a path that you love, and do your homework before you get into something. So, with that, I want to thank Simi for her time today. Great advice, Simi.
Of course, thank you so much. And maybe just one little note before we end
Yes,
this
please.
is if you're in high school, you can honestly start your tech career in high school. A lot of people that I'm around, the VP of our company, so and even in a survey for that was sent out for developers asking like, when did you start coding? A lot of them started in high school. A lot of them. So if tech is something that you're looking for, you can honestly get started in high school. You don't need to wait till college. You don't need to wait, for some time later. You can actually start in college, start building in high school and start building your portfolios.
100% agree with that advice. Not just depend on AP, principles of ComSci or AP ComSci, but go do some simple projects by yourself. build a portfolio on GitHub, participate or join programs like the STEAM in AI career college prep program, where you actually get to work with a mentor on a project of your choice. Do things like that, and that will set you up. Start a LinkedIn profile as soon as you're of legal age, and it is you can legally create a LinkedIn profile. Start building your network. All those things go very long way into building a great career ahead. So
And
with that, go ahead, Sumi.
sorry, I was going to say one more thing. You can also join hackathons. And I don't know if
Yes.
you're familiar with hackathons, but they're basically groups of students that get together. There's prompts from sponsors and organizations to build some kind of application. And you can go there. You don't need to know anything, or maybe you know a skill and you can contribute your skill. But that's also a great place to sort of network and learn from other people and understand, what some of these things in tech mean.
Yeah, again, great point, Simi. And it's not only, hackathons are not only for tech champions. They are also for people. You can come with different diverse skill set, and you can still contribute to being a part of the team. You may be great at UX design, or you may be good at vision or strategy, and you may be good at the writing the algo or the actual code. So depending on what you are good at, you can actually contribute to a hackathon and start their great advice, as usual, Sumi. So thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you found this talk useful and some great takeaways that you can implement and start today. And again, Simi, I want to thank you for your time. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Shilpi. Bye, everybody.